You got thin set on the floor, thin set on the tile. That way we know 100% we got great coverage. In today's video, I'm going to be installing tile in this bathroom behind me. And if you're new to this channel, my name's Josh. This channel is all about building your own house and DIYing projects to save a ton of money. So go ahead and subscribe and like this video if you find it helpful. All right, let's get started on that tile. Now what I like to do, I go through, I lay out all my tiles and then I cut them on the wet saw, get everything laid out. I'll lay out the whole room. The reason why I do that is because I like to mix up my mortar and not have to feel rushed with it and trying to cut my tiles and all this at the same time since I'm doing this by myself. So that's a little trick I've learned over the years. So we're gonna go through and pre-cut everything and get it laid out. All right, I'm gonna go grab some tiles. So how I start my tile is I find the longest wall, which in this case it's this one. So I measure off each side of the wall 12 1/4, so that's gonna be a lip of my first row of tile. So that way I get a perfectly straight line here. And I'll try to break the tile right in the center of this toilet flange, so that way I don't have to cut a big circle out of the center of a tile or anything crazy like that. Okay, so I went ahead and chalked my line 12 1/4 off. I had to chalk it twice because I actually did 12 inches first, so I went up 1/4 inch, made 12 1/4. But I just wanted to show you, once you get to an area like this where you have this toilet flange, just lay it up where it goes, space it all out, and then just mark where the flange is going to go. And then we'll go out and cut it, and I'll show you how I cut something like this. But I have the wet saw set up out here in the garage because it makes kind of a mess when you use it. So what you do to cut a tile like this, you want to turn your saw on, obviously, and cut. Then keep going straight until you meet your line, and then shift it over, and then go straight again until you meet the line. Then you crack it all out of there, and I will show you how to do it. I'll put my GoPro on so you can see firsthand. Something you can't see is I'm wearing safety glasses and I'm wearing ear protection because when you're using this wet saw, it's very loud. And this is a rigid wet saw. This one only costs about $300 or $400 from Home Depot, but you can get really expensive ones or really cheap ones. This is kind of a mid-grade. And you want to take your time while you're cutting these tiles with a wet saw because that's just ceramic, so you can't rush it. And the water, if you're wondering, just helps keep the dust down. That's why you use a wet saw. Then after you use the wet saw, use these tile nippers and just nip away the little rough edges. Here it is cut, laid in place, as you can see, and all this stuff will obviously get covered up. Your toilet, you know, comes clear out to here and back around, so this doesn't have to be super perfect. But anyways, that all gets grouted in this. So yeah, so now you just do the same thing to the next tile and just keep running that first row. So I got it all put down and it's just laying there. There's nothing actually thin setted down. There's no thin set under it. So what I'm going to do now is pick up all the hole pieces and leave the parameters where they're at. If you're asking yourself why I did that, because when you're working by yourself, that thin set sets up kind of quick. So you don't want to be messing around trying to cut pieces and trying to use the thin set at the same time. So the best technique I've found is just go through, pre-cut, lay everything out as if it was installed, and then go back and thin set it all down. All right, as you can see here, I picked up all these tiles that were the full ones in the center, put them to the side. I'm gonna go through and start laying these edges right here and just working my way down and around and just sealing the tiles to the floor. Let's get started. I'll show you my technique. When I do tile, I usually just get a regular like 6-inch putty knife or so and get my notch trowel. And I like to use this putty knife to back butter the tile. And I like to use this to get the mortar on the floor, and I'll show you my technique. First, I just go ahead and get a nice scoop to put on the floor. And try not to cover up your chalk line so you can make sure you get your towel on it correctly. So this is where I like to use the 6-inch knife, is to back butter the tile because it's way easier to do it than to use that notched trowel. So I'll just go ahead and get some mortar on the back of your towel. And the reason why I like to back butter is because it gives full coverage of the tile, and you know you got it on every square inch of the tile this way. And then I take my notch trowel, and then I just clean it up. Alright, so you should have something like this, nice even coverage. That way it fits nice and flat to the floor. And sit your tile where it goes. Just kind of shift it into place. Give the tile a good little wiggle into the thin set. Line it up with your line. Go ahead and keep this edge clean here because it will be a little bit before we get to it. And I try to wipe the towel off as I go if I get any thin set on it. It's much easier to get that thin set off now than do it later after it sets up. Now's the time to level up the tile where it goes. Since we already leveled up this tile, I just take a straight edge. You can see we're a little high there. So we'll go ahead and wiggle that down into place. Then we put our level, make sure we're nice and level. Alright, that looks pretty good there. Good. And this way's good. Alright. So now, since we got this one set level and it matches our other tile here, we're going to put spacers, just like we did when we had it laid out earlier. So we'll just push those in. These are just little rubber spacers that allow an 1/8 inch gap. You can get them at Lowe's. And I like the rubberized ones, that way you don't have to worry about cracking a tile. Make sure you clean the floor as you go so you don't have water set up where you're not putting tile right now. All right, so this one's set, and we just do that same pattern across the whole rest of the room.
I'm doing a staggered pattern. You can do any pattern you want to do, but that's the pattern I like. But I don't know if you've installed cement board or not, obviously, but I made a video. I'll put it in a little card. You'll see it up in the upper right hand side of the screen. Click that and it'll show you how to mix up the thin set for the cement board and for the tile. For me, if I mix up 1/3 of a 50-pound bag, that usually gives me enough time to get it all down before it starts setting up. I'm not a professional tile setter, of course, so if somebody does this professionally, I'm sure does it differently. So if you're new to tiling, my advice would be just take your time, have patience, and it will go fine.
Okay, this is the final product before the grouting. As you can see, it gets a little messy, but you go through and wipe all this up and clean those tiles really well before you grout. But that is the product before it is grouted. Didn't turn out too bad, and tomorrow I'm going to do this on the other bathroom. Then I'll make the next video of me grouting all this. And that is it for today, and I'm going to have to, I can't reach this light switch. I'm going to get a broom to turn that off. Shucks. Since I can't walk on this tile, to shut this light off, you're going to have to use a pole. Alright guys, I just got done setting the tile here behind me. If you see, it looks like it turned out pretty good. Obviously, I gotta go through and clean it up really well after it dries. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace!